In today's video, I've got a herbicide I want to test on several common weeds I'm seeing in the lawn, including crabgrass, things like that. I want to show you the herbicide, I want to show you the weeds, we're going to spray the weeds, and we're going to check back and we're going to see just how well does this herbicide work on these weeds in the lawn. The good thing is this herbicide can be used on warm season grasses and cool season grasses. So let's test it out and see how well it works. So let's start out with the product. Now I've got a lot of herbicides, but I'm often testing out different ones and I want to know which one is going to do the best in each situation. Now, one thing I try to tell people often is like, listen, there's probably not one herbicide that's just going to be the best on every situation, but also, it's not practical to carry 10 different spray tanks on your truck to have the best herbicide for each individual weed. So sometimes you just have to find one or a combination that's pretty good on a lot of weeds. So I'll oftentimes use Celsius and Certainty dealing with warm season lawns. And it's pretty good on most weeds I'm gonna run across. Now, is it the best for each specific weed? Not necessarily, but I'm getting pretty good results on almost any weed. So now when I'm working by myself, sometimes I do have an excessive amount of spray tanks, you know, I'll just go ahead and say it. But anyway, today we want to test Dismiss NXT, one of the products that I keep, and I want to try it out on some of the weeds I'm seeing in the yard. This is summertime when we're doing this. I'm out here early in the morning before it gets too hot. And a little bit about the product, you'll see the active ingredients there. Carfentrazone, which I believe is one of the active ingredients in products like Speed Zone products, and then sulfentrazone, which is the active ingredient in Dismiss. Of course, this is Dismiss NXT. If you just get regular Dismiss, it's just sulfentrazone without the carfentrazone. So the carfentrazone, I think, is going to help us pick up some more of the broadleaf weeds and things like that. You see this little measuring deal here? I didn't like it at first, but now I kind of do like it. You just you can squeeze the bottle, take the cap off, squeeze the bottle, and raise it to the line. So that top line is going to be near the high rate per 1,000 square feet, which I typically equate with a gallon of water and then spray lightly. Now I think it actually says on warm season turf it's 0.35, so I don't know why the line goes to 0.34. And then the bottom, the middle line, the 0.23, I believe is the low rate. We'll check the label. And it is lower rates, I believe, also on your cool season turf. So make sure you understand the rates. But I am mixing at the high rate and spraying lightly. I've actually got this mixed up in a little old 1 gallon sprayer that I was trying out. So I'm gonna wear my PPE. I've got some flags here. I can go mark the weeds, and then we're gonna spray them, and then we'll check back on the results and see how well it works. Let's get going. I almost forgot, it does say when you read the label, it'll say with sulfentrazone to not use surfactant, or to be careful using it. You might want to test out an area before you use the surfactant. They're worried about a little bit of damage to the turf. So I'm just letting you know I do have surfactant in here with it, and I'm on a Bermuda turf, so I'm not super concerned, but that'll be something else we can look to see, is it going to discolor the turf at all. Okay, I've got the weeds marked. I'm going to show you the weeds. I've got my PPE on, got rubber gloves, rubber boots, long sleeve shirt. So we're going to start out with crabgrass. Let me show you crabgrass and we'll spray it and we'll move on to the other weeds. All right, I mowed the grass yesterday, but this is crabgrass, what it looks like in the lawn. I've got a flag marking it so I can find which ones I sprayed. We should be able to see plenty of crabgrass in this area, so I can show you ones that have been sprayed versus ones that have not been sprayed. So let's spray. I'm just going to spray lightly, get it wet, and then we'll see what happens. All right, the next weed we're gonna go after is this one right here. It's called yellow wood sorrel. It looks like a little clover, has a yellow flower. This one was a thorn in my side this spring. I've seen it a lot, honestly, and I'm gonna spray it. It's also known as oxalis, O-X-A-L-I-S, but let's spray it with the Dismiss NXT. Next up, we got some nutsedge. Now this, I'm not going to spray this patch. I'm actually spraying this patch over here, and I feel confident, even though this has been mowed, it may be a little bit hard to see, but it was cut yesterday. It's already less than 24 hours later about 1 inch taller than the grass. I'm pretty sure this is yellow nutsedge, and I want to spray it and just see how well it does. Now the dismissed products that have sulfentrazone on them don't typically do great on purple nutsedge, maybe give you a little bit of burn down, but typically have a little better results on the yellow nutsedge. So I'm going to see maybe spraying it early. I think actually it'd be better if the nutsedge was taller so that you could get a little bit more coverage on the leaf. But we're going to try it right here and see if we can kind of stop it in its tracks while it's still short, and see if it grows out of it and keeps growing, or if it sort of stops it and starts turning it brown. If you want a product that's good on yellow and purple nutsedge, you could use something like Sedge Hammer or Pro Sedge. And if you want one that's good on yellow nutsedge, purple nutsedge, and a lot of the Kalingas, then you could use something like Solero or Certainty. Next up, we're going to spray Wild Violet. It has a heart-shaped leaf, sometimes makes a purple flower, I think typically in the springtime. I have in the past used quinclorac products like Drive Accelerate or Solitaire or Q-Ball, things like that to control Wild Violet. But Wild Violet is on the label for Dismiss NXT, so let's see how well it works. And lastly, we're going with Annual Foxtail. Pretty easy to recognize when it puts up a seed head. It is a big foxtail looking seed head, but also it's kind of a bluish green leaf and it has this reddish color in the center of the plant. So I've used quinclorac products on it as well and had pretty good results. I found that the Celsius Certainty combo that I use a lot is very good on foxtail. I'm not sure if it's the Celsius or the Certainty or the combination of both, but it does work well. But again, we're going to try the Dismiss NXT on it. In these situations, I've actually sprayed it probably a little heavier than I normally would, but I'm trying to get really good coverage on the leaf and just want to give the herbicide the best opportunity I can to be effective. We'll check back soon and see how well it's working. It's been about a week since we sprayed the Dismiss NXT. I want to show you what's going on with the weeds. All right, first up we got the yellow nutsedge, and look here at one that wasn't sprayed and how tall it is compared to the ones that were sprayed. And I mean really good results on that. I can't ask for much more than that. I mean, I guess you could ask for it not to come back, but very, very good on the yellow nutsedge compared to that. Now, I don't know about purple nutsedge, I don't know about Kalinga, but yellow nutsedge definitely passes the eye test. This was our yellow wood sorrel oxalis here. You know that it did a pretty good job when you're having trouble even recognizing the weed. I think I see it right in here. It basically demolished it. You see here, we're 2 for 2. Completely blasted the yellow wood sorrel and completely dominated yellow nutsedge. So it's good on yellow weeds, I guess you would say. Let's find some more challenging weeds and see how it does. Next up, we're going with the annual foxtail. Here's the ones that were not sprayed, growing like crazy. It's been hot. The one that has been sprayed, pretty good results. I'm gonna say mediocre. Not doesn't like the plant's dying. I still see a lot of green, but you can also see a lot of brown. It's definitely damaged it. I want to give this just a little bit more time, but definitely some action, but not complete domination like we saw in the other 2 weeds. I would have loved to see it completely dominate this weed, but unfortunately this is a tough one. You can see the wild violet basically laughed it off. I mean, I might see a little bit of discoloration. We can give it a little bit more time, but wild violet was not intimidated with Dismiss NXT. Let's go check on our final weed. Last weed to check on is the old crabgrass. You can see the ones that were not sprayed, what they look like. And you see the ones that were sprayed. And it looks like just a little bit more narrow, like not sprayed and then sprayed. I think the leaf is curling a little bit. Nothing overly impressive, but definitely knew that it had been sprayed. But unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna be enough to knock this crabgrass out. Let's give this just a little bit more time and make one final checkup where we can draw our final conclusions. Gonna give the final checkup on Dismiss NXT versus these weeds. We'll draw some conclusions at the end of the video. All right, we already established that it worked very well on the yellow nutsedge. You see how tall this yellow nutsedge is. Look at some of this other nutsedge in the yard. Look at this, growing like crazy. And you can see where this was sprayed. Honestly, if I didn't have it flagged, I don't know that I would know that nutsedge was here. But you can see it down in the grass. It's just brown. And compare that with this one that's grown about 6 inches tall in less than a week since the grass has been cut. So for yellow nutsedge, I'm gonna give that an A+. I don't know what it could have done any better. I'm not convinced it's dead and won't be back next year, but you know, that was great results in my opinion. What about the yellowwood sorrel oxalis? Dead, 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 dead. That looks like one that I sprayed there. You can see right there, those brown leaves. Unrecognizable, dead, compared to one that didn't get sprayed. A+ results on that. What about on the annual foxtail? You can see annual foxtail mature right here. You see the seed head that it's putting up. And you see what it did that was sprayed. So, I mean, okay results. There's a lot of browning in there. Maybe if I'd have got better coverage on the plant, I don't know, but unfortunately didn't kill it. Just gave us some brown coloration. If I mow it off, I think it's gonna grow right back. So I'm gonna give that like a C-. Didn't control it, but definitely had some effect on it. Here's wild violet, very little action at all on that. Compare that with one that hasn't been sprayed. And wild violet's slow to die, but I'm not seeing any signs of this dying. And so I have basically no expectation that it's gonna die. So we're gonna give it a D on the wild violet. Maybe just the slightest bit of discoloration, but that's about it. And our final test is crabgrass. And you can see we got a lot of rain, warm weather. We got just a little bit of initial shock to the crabgrass, but unfortunately Dismiss NXT is not going to be a solution, at least for this variety of crabgrass. To be honest with you, there's not a lot of products that are doing a great job of controlling this crabgrass, so I'm not faulting it, but just trying to be honest about our evaluation of Dismiss NXT. We're going to give it a D on crabgrass as well, at least on this variety. So in a situation like this, what I think we've learned is Dismiss NXT was excellent on the yellow nutsedge. I think it's also pretty good on some of your kalingas and things like that. So if I was to take Dismiss NXT, I'm just telling you how I think through this, and let's just say I put ProSage with it, and that might sound a little bit redundant. Dismiss NXT with ProSage, aren't those both kind of sage products? Well, the ProSage, I think, is going to help you on your purple nutsedge. I don't know. We didn't test that. I don't know how well it would have done on purple nutsedge. My gut feeling is not nearly as well as it did on the yellow nutsedge. So, I mean, it was just, you can use it by itself and say, this is going to be a great product for yellow nutsedge, probably a pretty good product on your kalinga, maybe give you some decent burn down on your purple nutsedge, and then also knock out a lot of broadleaf weeds. You saw it just totally demolish the oxalis. Well, that's a good product. I mean, you get a product that's going to hammer a lot of broadleaf weeds and give you some good suppression on your sedges. That's a quality product, in my opinion. Now, you know, not going to knock out the crabgrass, not going to kill the wild violet. Those are difficult weeds to control. But anyway, I look at this and am actually happy with the results, particularly on the oxalis and the yellow nutsedge. I mean, those were outstanding. And if I know that I can knock out broadleafs and suppress sedges, then it's a keeper in my opinion. So hopefully these videos are helpful to you. You can leave me comments and suggestions. Also, I want to mention a couple things. If you want to get in weed control and fertilization like me, I made the switch over from mowing to weed control years ago, and that's been a great move for my business. But I have a course. It's mostly for people with warm season grasses, somebody that's wanting to get into weed control or have been mowing, wanting to switch over to weed control or add on weed control. And it's called the Weed Control and Fertilization Academy. That's over at lawncarelife.com. It's also where you'll find the details for the Lawn Care Life Conference. The 2024 Lawn Care Life Conference is coming up February 23rd and 24th of 2024 in Springville, Alabama, near Birmingham. We have 300 seats available, and right now you can get the early bird ticket price. It's $197, going to include all your meals on a Friday night and Saturday. So exciting event, got a good lineup of speakers. This is the 4th Lawn Care Life Conference we've done, but planning for this one to be the biggest and best that we've had. Thanks for watching the video. We'll see you in the next one.